All right, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I see Calvin is in Louisiana. How's it going? After a 1 week hiatus, Sean, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little better than I was a week ago.
That's good. How about you, Bob? How are you feeling?
I'm hanging in there, working through some preseason bugs and post-vacation blues, but I'm doing all right.
All right. Well, I didn't think I was going to make it this weekend because today is my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday, Miss Debbie.
Yeah, we're going to have a birthday party on Friday during the preseason game. So, which is fine because I'm not really interested in what goes on in a preseason game. Some people are asking me all the time, hey, once you're at a good, bad, and ugly in preseason game, I'm like, they're all ugly.
Yeah,
they really are. I mean, you have flashes of good plays, and I can think of some preseason games where I saw some nice stuff out there.
Mhm.
But for the most part, it's just frustration. It really is.
Yeah.
Because you can't. It's a glorified practice. These guys are out there, and the coaches are evaluating, so they're ignoring the down and distance and stuff like that to get a proper evaluation on players. They're not going to do anything special, so you have to take it that way.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to my wife.
Yeah.
His birthday's today.
Happy birthday, Debbie. Happy first anniversary to Lauren and I.
Yes.
Happy birthday to Lauren. Happy birthday to one of the three members on this panel. Let's just be thankful he's made it as long as he has. We're not going to tell you which one of the panel members, but yeah, it's a busy month of August.
Yeah, I forgot. Happy birthday to Lauren. It's belated birthday for her too. So yeah, it's from.
I'm always the one that hears about the birthday like 3 or 4 days after the fact and think, oh God, I should have written it down.
Well, dude, get back on Facebook. They notify you of this stuff. Now, I tried to get my birthday removed from my profile, and I did so. I didn't do so successfully. So I got on vacation. I got flooded with all these birthday and anniversary messages because they're now a couple of days apart. But it was evil villainy on my part. Pushing for a wedding date of August 1st because eventually the anniversary is going to overshadow my birthday, which I am more than cool with.
Well,
hey, when I hit my 45th, that was in 2013, and there was a period of time leading up to that we didn't think that I was going to make it to that birthday. I'm good with everyone I get.
Yeah, yeah, I am too. But yeah, I'm not going to say celebrated. I dealt with a milestone birthday. And it's not really one that I want to talk about or think about. So I'm going through a little bit of depression as far as that goes. But honest to God, I'm thankful for not only every birthday, but every damn day. I'm thankful for everything that I have in my life. I truly am.
Don't be depressed. Turning 65 is not that bad.
It's the 21st anniversary of my 29th birthday, and I'll leave it at that.
You didn't tell me to be math in this episode at all. Yeah, as I always tell people, it's not the years, it's the mileage. It always
yeah. That be the case. I'm on blocks.
Same.
And very well deserved at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Earned every one of those miles.
I was going to say, so you have to be careful because you have to remember Sean lives in North Louisiana, so him being on blocks is just an old car. Being on blocks in New Orleans means that they stripped you down and left you for dead.
Actually, I can relate to both of those analogies.
Same.
Yeah.
So guys, before we get started on the game and everything like that and what's coming up this week, Was there anything about the Saints roster moves done yesterday afternoon that surprised either one of you guys?
I'm surprised that defensive tackle got released before the game and came back. That was odd.
Jaleel. Yeah, I found that a little odd too, Jaleel Johnson. I'm glad he's back. I was surprised he was cut in the first place.
Mhm.
I had him and now have him again. At least with a strong chance of making the final 53. And for me, I'm a little bit surprised they released John Parker Romo, the kicker. I did not think he was going to make this team, but I thought that they wanted an extra leg throughout camp to rest Lutz as much as they could. So I was surprised at that. And a little bit surprised that they released Aesop Winston too. I didn't think Aesop was going to make the team, but I thought he had an outside shot. And to release him in the first round of cuts, that's what surprised me. And he got picked up by the Browns today.
Yeah, he did. And I was always saying that the roster, the receiver room was going to be very tough to make cuts this year. And it's weird because last year was a weakness of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Having Michael Thomas back and then drafting Olave and then bringing in come on, 80.
Landry.
Thank you, Jarvis Landry. I just could not think of his last name to save my life. But having those three in there now, the Saints keep 5 receivers. So and Hardy is going to be the kick returner.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 4. So you got all these guys now fighting for that 5th position. And Bob, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago. I said I could see Kevin White making the team, and you said Callaway. And both of those guys are in that battle for that 5th spot. And I thought it was, White didn't catch any balls or anything like that, but he was a gunner on the special teams. So, they're trying to see if he can do more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We know Callaway can. Callaway caught one ball and he went to the sidelines like most everybody else in the first quarter. But, you got some players out there trying to fight for that 5th spot. And I think Callaway is still in the lead. But, it was interesting. I noted that last night or Saturday night. Sorry.
And I actually am leaning towards the Saints keeping 6 receivers this year.
Mm-hmm.
But make no mistake, the 6 receivers are not going to be rounded out. I agree with both of you. There's no doubt that Thomas, Landry, Olave is going to take up those first 3 spots. Deontay Hardy is going to take up the 4th. But the 5th and 6th guys are not going to be Callaway and Smith or Callaway and 2 veterans. If they keep a 6th, it's going to be a developmental guy who plays special teams. Mm-hmm. So, my eyes are looking at either Dejon Dixon, who played very well on Saturday night, or Kirk Merritt. I agree. Or Kirk Merritt, who's had a fantastic camp. So really, like you guys said, it's this battle for one spot. And it's going to be White has an outside shot, but Callaway can play special teams. He's a proven route runner. I think could be a very good 3rd, 4th, and maybe not 3rd, but 4th, 5th receiver. Or my favorite, Traquan Smith. Who had a rough outing on Saturday night. What say you guys?
Hey, Sean, go ahead. I got some stuff I can say, but if you're ready, Sean.
Traquan's short for the game, in my opinion. I can't see him making the final cut. I really can't.
Well, yeah.
That's partially due to his poor performance Saturday, but mostly due to the elevation in the talent of the wide receiver core.
I agree with that. And the strength that the only thing that Traquan Smith had going for him playing for the Saints is that he is the best run blocking receiver on the team. But
there's a lot to be said for that. But in my opinion, to be a productive wide receiver, you got to be consistent.
Yep.
And he's on one game, he's off 5, he's on half a game, he's off for another 5.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. How much are you getting out of him other than a run blocker? I just don't see. It's like how Sean Payton was with the whole bottom half of his roster. You have to be able to play multiple positions to justify being on this team. If you're an lineman, you have to be able to play tackle guard or guard center, something like that. You can't just be, oh, I'm just a tackle and that's all I do. And the same thing, running back. You have to be able to catch passes and run the ball. You cannot be a running back who can't catch passes in this offense. So if you're a receiver, you have to be able to do multiple things. That includes playing special teams. Because let's say Hardy gets hurt, which he's gotten hurt the past 2 seasons. So who's going to be your kick returner? So there's an edge that Callaway has. He can return kicks. Guys that are old Saints fans, you remember, it was not uncommon that a defensive back sat there and all they did was just do the fair catch, but they would have to catch the kick return. Jarius Byrd did it. I remember when Vince Buck and Gene Atkins were doing it for the Saints when they had kick return problems. So, you have to be able to do these things. And that's why I was paying close attention to Kevin White on special teams, how he was doing in that. Because that's how, if he's going to make this team, that's how he's going to make this team. And I'm not just tooting his horn, but he is a guy that is a former first-round pick, the number 7 overall pick. This is probably his last stop. Doesn't make the team, he's not going anywhere else. So he's really in that tough battle to get that slot. And I agree with you. I think it could be developmental guys. Merritt is probably somebody they could sneak in to bring back on the practice squad, like Quan Baker. But I'm curious to see what else these guys can do. So that's the toughest position.
Yeah, because going back to Traquan, especially what you said, Sean, he's on for half a game and then he's off for 5 or 6. Everybody knows about his injury history. I mean, he's missed 16 games in his 4 years, including 7 last year. In his 59 games, though, he has 2 100-yard receiving outings. Both of them were as a rookie. And a lot of Traquan Smith lovers will come back at me and saying, well, Michael Thomas is, he's the guy in that receiving court. Yeah, he is. But Traquan Smith has had multiple opportunities in an offense desperate for a number 2 or a number 3 wide receiver and has failed to capitalize. He couldn't get separation against the Houston Texans' 3rd and 4th string defensive backs. In his last 35 games, almost all of which Michael Thomas was out, Traquan Smith has had under 70 receiving yards in 32 of those 35 games. To me, this is long overdue that you send the guy packing. He should be out on the outside looking in now, but I'm not the one that makes those roster decisions.
I agree.
I'm frustrated with him too, because he was a 4th-round pick. He's a guy that you would expect to come in and play better than undrafted free agents. I think Callaway, being the receiver, being the number 1 receiver on the receiving corps last year, spoke volumes. About
absolutely
where Traquan Smith was. And he's never gotten any better. He just does not concentrate like he should. He is just not a consistent receiver. And
like Bob said, when you've needed him the most, that the season last year, as bad as the receiving corps was, you needed someone with experience and I use this word loosely, ability to step up and be the guy. And he had every opportunity to do so and did not. Failed miserably. And Jameis isn't going to be on primetime games about to break NFL records. So that's Traquan's calling card.
That was his games where he stepped up.
Okay. I mean, yeah, and there are other disappointments that all three of us, I'm sure, will talk about from Saturday night. Who stood out to you as far as positive check marks?
Blake Gillikin, for certain.
Fair.
I didn't get to see the entire game, but every opportunity that I had, I'd run back in here and, stand there and look at it. Every time I saw him punt the ball, it was either caught or hit the ground on the sideline marks every time. Usually inside the 20-yard line.
I'm going to throw out some names that people are going to be like, really? But I'll tell you, based on those first two drives, Andres Pete and Eric McCoy, they came out ready to play. That starting offensive line, even with Ramczyk out, I just really thought that starting offensive line just really dominated, the Texans' defensive line.
Well, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. What were your impressions of the first time you got to see Penning on the field?
I
was not nearly as impressed as I thought I would be.
Here's the thing for Penning for me. I thought in the running game, he was killing people. I thought in the passing game, he was getting suckered and was out of position. And then, you even heard it during the broadcast that, now I can't think of his name. John Stitchcomb said it. He commented at one point that Penning let the Texans defensive end get in his head. Mm-hmm. He won't forget the last play he got beat. So he was making even more mistakes trying to catch up. And it reminds me of the Marty Schottenheimer story. Schottenheimer tells the story it's in A Football Life, by the way. But Schottenheimer said in a game, he said he made a mistake. And he was so mad because he had studied film and was ready for that play. And he let that when he made that mistake, he was so mad at himself that he made a mistake in the next play. Then he made a mistake on the next play. So he's took the motto, one play at a time, and you guys have all seen the footage of Schottenheimer doing the finger, one play at a time, man, one play at a time. That's where it comes from. Because when that play happens and you make a mistake, it's over. You can't fix it. You can't correct it. Forget about it. Move on to the next play and make that play work. And I think that's what happened to Penning Saturday night. I thought he tried to overcompensate so much for his mistakes he was making in the passing game. It got worse because he started using his own aggression against him. He dived forward to really waylay into a guy on a pass block, and the guy would just do a spin move, and now he's reaching, So, the thing about I'm reading stuff on Twitter, which is always a mistake. It really is. They now have the trend going. Penning should be a guard, and he's a first round bust and everything else. And I think the thing is, if you watch him, especially on the running plays, he has great feet. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have heavy hands. It's a mental thing for him right now, and he looked like a guy with a lot of talent that came from a very small school playing against very mediocre talent his whole college career.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not exactly ready to sack the guy after one preseason game. I expected him to be motivated to come out and, well, I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, announce his presence with authority.
Physically, he tried. I think, like Alan said, and to address what you're asking, John, we're seeing small improvements in Trevor Penning's game pretty much every time out there. The learning curve for him is a little bit longer because of what Alan said and what Sean pointed out, because the collegiate competition that Trevor Penning faced. He has the bigger jump up into this NFL competition than what your average first-round pick is going to face. Physically, and this is why I just laugh at people that say, hey, Trevor Penning looks like he's better suited at guard. Like, he's not Andrus Peat, folks. Trevor Penning has the feet and has the fluid athleticism to play this position. Just like John Stitchcomb indicated on the broadcast, Penning was getting beat up here on Saturday night. And that's what was causing him to be a step slow in pass protection. Look, and anybody who has played offensive lineman knows this. To run block is the easiest thing to do in football. You just beat the shit out of the guy in front of you. To pass block, it takes a lot more technique. A lot, especially tackle. A lot more technique, a lot more awareness around you, and a lot more instant reaction rather than thinking and analyzing what you're going to do. Because people don't realize, obviously everything on the football field happens 1,000 miles an hour, and everybody equates that to the quarterback position or the running back position, how you're going to see your holes, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, etc. It's just as much so for an offensive tackle, because if you don't make that split second muscle memory reaction, I should say, your quarterback gets killed. And that's what kind of we were seeing on Saturday night. So I'm seeing him minor improvements out of Trevor Penning. I still expect James Hurst to start out this season. I always have. But Penning is the future at the position, and I see no reason to start throwing dirt over the guy's grave right now, because like I said, it's still a very wide learning curve for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think he will eventually be a starter because the talent level between him and Hurst is like this. I mean, it's, you just watch Hurst out there. This is the best you're going to see out of Hurst.
Yeah, serviceable.
Yeah, he's a serviceable guy. He's not as good as
he's a caretaker.
Yeah. One of two of the players that people are automatically comparing him to, or three, they're comparing him to Armstead, and Armstead played at a small school. But Armstead was a third-round pick, and people forget Armstead did not get to start until like week 13, week 12, back in 2013, when Sean Payton, my favorite quote from Sean Payton, when he pulled I've seen enough. You work with Charles Brown, and he's fallen on his face so many times. I've seen enough. He's out. And then Armstead wasn't a stud until after a couple of games. He got to be better. The other players people are comparing him to is Willie Roaf, obviously a Hall of Famer from I'm sorry, Louisiana Tech, I know, but I'm saying from 1993. He started actually as a right tackle. Yeah. And then they moved him to left tackle the next season. Stan Brock was the right tackle, I think.
The Texans quarterback Saturday night was from Louisiana Tech, too.
Oh, was he?
Jeff Driscoll.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
But maybe not. Maybe Stan Brock was gone in 93. I think 94 he was with San Diego. I don't remember if he was there in 93 or not. But I know Roaf was playing right tackle, and then he moved to left tackle the next year. And then, of course, Ryan Ramczyk, who played at Wisconsin. So you're dealing with Major League college football going against top talent. I think Wisconsin did go to the playoffs that year. Maybe not, but they still played.
Not for very long.
Yeah. I mean, he still faced elite talent.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare expectations. Playing left tackle is one of the most difficult positions on the offensive line. And
when Rofe played at Tech, they played against Alabama one time. And Alabama had this stud defensive end. I don't even remember his name. But Willie Rofe absolutely whipped his ass all day long.
I tweeted this actually because I said if people just watched, it was week 14 when he came in. Okay, Armstead. Of course, my son remembers that. But if
shut up, Matt. You're gonna hear of it this year.
Yeah. Now I've lost my train of thought. But if you saw Willie Rofe play against Chuck Smith from the Atlanta Falcons, you want to put Willie Rofe at center because for some reason, of all players and of all teams, for Willie Rofe to have his worst games against, it was always Atlanta and Chuck Smith facing him. I could not take it. Yeah, and Chad, you're right. Offensive line and cornerback are the only positions you never see when they're playing well.
Yep.
You only see when they screw up.
That's true.
Well, think about it. Why do people hate Andres Pete so much? Well, two reasons. Number one, he's hurt a lot. And number two, he seems to get penalties or draw penalties after big plays, So
it's the only time their mothers ever hear their name on TV is when they get penalized.
Yeah. But, so my thing with Penning is you just keep throwing him out there, let him keep developing. He is the number one project of Doug Maroon. And I think sooner rather than later, to quote Sean Payton, he will be the starter.
Yeah.
So,
I have no hesitation that Penning is going to be everything that we thought he was going to be.
Matt's just like throwing darts tonight. That's the shadowy place. Oh, now he's quoting the meme from The Lion King. We said that about New Orleans. Everywhere you see the light touches, that is New Orleans. What about that shadowy place? That's the West Bank, son. You must never go there. I always say I got all my friends live in the West Bank too, so I can talk that shit. Anyway, yes, we go through some others, and some other guys who really impressed me. Bradley Roby.
Yes.
Yeah.
We saw, we've heard about it all training camp, how he's playing like a shutdown corner.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, and I'm going to ask both of y'all this question. If Roby really is now becoming that shutdown corner to pair it with Marshawn Lattimore, who do you throw to? Who do you throw against?
There is no one.
No, because you don't throw Paulson Adebo. That man is playing like an all-pro right now.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
And do you automatically run multiple receiver sets out? And hope that you plan on throwing to your slot guy. Well, he's going to be covered by C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Tyrann Mathieu.
Mm-hmm.
So you're welcome to take your chances there. Roby. I've always been a fan of Roby. You guys know this. He's been a little bit inconsistent throughout his career, but he is a quality veteran starter. And played for one of the better secondaries in the 21st century. With the Denver Broncos, and was a starter on that Super Bowl team. Roby is on the wrong side of 30 for a defensive back. I acknowledge that. Lattimore and Debo are going to be your starters, but I see Roby getting a whole lot more snaps than what he did last year. And I thought he played very, very impressively on Saturday night and through camp. Really.
The only thing.
A little bit.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we're going to talk about Justin Evans a little bit too, but go ahead.
Yeah.
The only thing defensively that made me a little uncomfortable was the run defense.
Mm-hmm.
It was spotty at best.
Well, yes. Yes, it was. But at the time, though, you got to remember you didn't have Calvin Jordan out there. I'm Cam Jordan. Said Calvin Jordan. I'm looking at Calvin's name, but Cam Jordan. You didn't have Davenport out there.
No.
Yeah.
Onyemata may have played. I don't think Onyemata was out there playing either. So it's
Nope.
a lot of guys who are missing from that team.
No Onyemata, no Demario, no Werner.
Yeah.
I think Tuttle played a series and he was out.
Mm-hmm. Sorensen didn't play that bad with Calvin. He really didn't. But yeah, I mean, so you're talking about guys that second and third wave players, basically. Yeah, I know. I was mad too. Damian Pierce, I'm watching him run through the Saints defense like son of a bitch. He should have been playing for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same.
But I thought the defensive line was strong enough. It showed a lot of depth. I mean, you had that one play. I think Malcolm Roach ran down the quarterback down the field, 300-pound man running. So Malcolm Roach and he had a good day today. In fact, in the joint scrimmages versus Green Bay. I think there's a lot of talent there. That's another area that's going to be very difficult to cut people because you've got a lot of guys that can play a lot of positions on the defensive line, and they're going to be some talented guys you're going to have to let go.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even talked about last year's number one overall, number one draft pick, Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner supposedly had a good game, good practice today against the Packers.
He had a terrific day. Alan. Him and Cam Jordan literally lived in the Packers' backfield. Analysts said that if it were live game action, they'd have probably had 5 sacks and about 8 tackles for loss between them.
Yeah. So it just. Yeah, Turner stunk during the game. I don't think he stunk during the game. I was just disappointed in him. He did not play very well in that preseason game, that fourth quarter. He didn't do hardly anything. But none of them did. Carl Granderson didn't do anything. I thought the kid from Kansas City last year, Passanio did not have a good game once he came back in late in the game. And I think it was really kind of a lack of effort. I hate to say that, but they really did not play well. And I think, you'll probably see an improvement this week, I should say, because I think they got called out in the film room when they broke down the game. Said, it's obvious you're half stepping this, that you're treating this game like it's over, and you're playing like, oh yeah, I got a spot. They're not going to cut me, So,
but that's exactly the way they were playing. I think that's what led to the defensive breakdowns. I mean, we saw the coverage breakdowns, by 4 stringers and guys who aren't going to be in the NFL in 3 weeks. But it stemmed from not getting any push up front, in the defensive front. And I felt the same way. I thought all of these guys, when they came back into the game, with the exception of Roach, I thought Roach had an outstanding evening. But those other guys, the guys that are going to make this team, when they came back in, it looked to me like they were just going through the motions as well.
Yeah, I mean that whole final 30 seconds or a minute of that game, where the Texans finally got something going. I'm like, they're acting like this game's over.
They mailed it in
overtime. They had no intensity at all in there. And yeah, I am concerned, Calvin, the lack of a defensive tackle presence, especially the zero technique guy. That still concerns me. We haven't had one since we let Malcolm Brown go. We traded him away. So yeah, it really does concern me about that. I think they're going to try and rotate guys in there to really be run stuffers / pass rushers. Be able to get that push inside. So
I think that's why they brought Jaleel Johnson back, because that's his primary position. I mean, he won't give you much as a pass rusher, but he'll at least tie up blockers and push that pocket backwards. And with as much talent as they have on the edge, that's really the only type of guy you need at that position.
Yeah, you only need a 2-down guy. I mean, Kadavius Street is somebody else, I think, that they're trying to see if he can play that technique alongside Onyemata, because I think Roach and Shy Tuttle, those two can play both zero technique and the five technique. So, you know, they're going to play around with that defensive line a lot. But, yeah, it was concerning. Okay, so Donald's bringing up two people. What do we think of John Bostic and is Pete Werner's injury? You know, how serious is this now? Bob, I'll ask.
As far as Warner goes, they're calling it a groin injury, which is tricky enough, for any position. So if it's that, you do run the risk that that we get revealed to us any day now that it could be a sports hernia. But even I laugh when people call it a run-of-the-mill groin injury, because if you've had one, you would never, ever, ever use that term ever.
Ever.
And so I say if anything in that injury realm for Pete Werner, you let that man rest as long as he needs to. Because you don't want to run the risk of a more serious injury that could perhaps even end his season. You know what he can bring as a starter, at least you think you know. There's no reason to rush him back out onto the field. Having said that, I love the signing of John Bostic. I mentioned him as a possibility off of the off of the free agent market a few weeks ago. Bostic is a terrific run defender, who is athletic enough, and he runs about 245, so he has good size, but he's athletic enough to be at least a solid contributor in coverage. And if you're a Saints linebacker, you're going to be asked to do that a lot. So I love the signing. He was already on the field, and getting reps against Green Bay today. And that's a good team to get reps against, if you're going to be tested as a run pass defending linebacker. Because I know people are high on Chase Hansen, and I admit he had a heck of a game against the Texans. With Chase Hansen, you're really limited in what you're going to get. I thought a guy that played really well, that went under the radar because of how well Hansen played on the stat sheet, was Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson covered very, very well. Chase Hansen wouldn't have had that interception if it wasn't for Eric Wilson's coverage. Eric Wilson actually had the pass breakup, and he played well in coverage all night. I like that Eric Wilson signing when it happened this offseason, and I told people that's going to be an under the radar guy, a sneaky good signing. John Bostic is a little bit splashier name, but I think he or Wilson, once they get up to speed in this Saints defense, that does strengthen your linebacking core, the depth of your linebacking core, quite a bit.
And Sean, I'm going to ask you about it too in a minute, but I look at Bostic as this is a guy that, is kind of like the Kiko Alonso, Manti Te'o kind of signing, somebody who is going to be a 2-down linebacker, and come in on special packages and things like that, the main thing they want to have is linebackers who can run. And Bostic can give you a little bit of something, but you can also rotate him in with other guys. So, Sean, I'll ask you this. People were clamoring for Quan Alexander to come back, and he went ahead and signed with the Jets. And the Saints really did offer him something, but they could not offer him a starting job. They were planning on giving it to Pete Werner. 2020 hindsight is everything. Do you think we'd still be in this position if we had Quan Alexander on the team?
It's hard to say, because as great a player as he was for the Saints, I think that Quan was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off.
Okay. I agree with that.
It's not a matter of when the car stops rolling, or if the car stops rolling, but when the car stops rolling.
Okay.
And as you've said many times on here, it's better to get out early than to get out late.
All right. This can't be right. Okay, so somebody just posted a list of the Saints roster moves today because they had to cut 5 players, but they have listed as 5 players. They have a lot more than 5. They got Aesop Wisdom, T.J. Carter, Scott Patchan, Jaleel Johnson, Jordan Brown, Jack Corner, Dylan Mabin, Isaiah Pryor, Bryce Thompson, and John Parker Romo. But these aren't all cuts.
No.
Guys were guys they brought back.
Yeah. They just listed roster moves, period, and didn't explain what they were. Jaleel Johnson was brought back. Those other guys were released. A few of them were released beforehand, like Bryce Thompson with an injury settlement that just became official yesterday. And they also moved Ethan Greenidge, the offensive tackle, to injured reserve. The names are right. They just didn't have it listed how it happened.
Right. And somebody asked, Rashid Shaheed hurt? I think he's on the non-football injury list.
He was back today, actually returning kicks.
Okay. All right. So he's back today. Yes, they are still bitching about Quan. It's because Quan had that great comeback last year from that Achilles injury. And I do think he is, I wouldn't say a ticking time bomb, but he is an injury waiting to happen. That's why the Saints wanted to let him go a year early, because they just simply could not afford to count on him as a starter and then have him blow another Achilles or get an injury or something like that. Then they'd really be in trouble. They're really pushing Pete Warner to go forward, and you're making decisions. Yeah, I know. That's my work phone. That's why my work phone is going off. Old school ringer. There it goes again. And hang on.
Must be John Butler.
Yeah, no, it's not John Butler. It's somebody else. It's somebody from the office I don't really need to talk to right now, but I'll call him back later. But I use the old school ringer because for a work phone I can't have DMX come blasting out of that thing. Although it's tempting, because most time when people call me, they are about to make me lose my mind up in here. Real quick, pick up my damn call. You call me on that phone, you really got the top secret number. You know, one of my business cards be calling me on that phone. He is. Rashid is a bigger version of Hardy, but I think they're going to try and stash him a year. Yep. I think that's what they want to do. So he's probably going to have another mysterious injury and going into reserve, and they're just going to stash him on the team for a year and see what they can do with him, because I think they see him. They see a lot of positives about him. Yeah, we talked about that. Both Turner and Cam had good practice today. Justin Evans, Bob, that's one of your players you want to talk about that you really liked coming into training camp. When he came in, I really wanted to watch him to see what his movement was like, speaking of Achilles injuries and stuff. How did Justin Evans look to you, Bob?
Alan, I really liked the range that Justin Evans showed. He had a couple of nice pass breakups. He moved really, really well. And he has played that way up through camp so far, up to and including today against the Green Bay receivers. I thought Saturday was the stage that everybody got to see him, and I thought he played really well. I already had him at least on the fringe of making this roster, with the injuries to Smoke Monday and Bryce Thompson, I now, if the decisions had to be made today, I think Justin Evans makes this roster as an extra safety, and they only go with 4 cornerbacks. I think Evans is playing that well right now.
I'm very happy about Evans playing well, and Sean, I'm going to ask you your opinion in a second too. But I'm really happy that Evans played well because safety was a big concern of mine. Outside of May and Matthew, I didn't know where the backups were going to come from because, yeah, PJ Williams can play back, can be a backup safety, but I wouldn't want PJ Williams out there for a long term right now at safety. I don't trust him yet. So, now you're looking at Smoke Monday, who was injured, Bryce Thompson. You're looking at guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was really your nickel corner. Where was your safety? Where was your backup strong safety going to come from? Where was that backup free safety really going to come from? I could see putting PJ as a strong, but I didn't know where that free was going to be. So I'm very happy to see. I'm anxious to see how Evans progresses. I mean, these are some tough injuries he's coming back from. He was the 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
So a lot like Kevin White's potential. The ceiling for Evans is extremely high, so I was very happy about that. Sean, was anybody that I know you didn't watch the game very closely, but was anybody you were looking for or watching for that you were hoping was really going to have a good game? And either
I was really about the only player that I was really wanting to see in action was Olave.
Yeah, you're not going to see much of him. Unfortunately, he's going to be wrapped in bubble wrap, just like Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. They're not going to put them out there.
I did like Ozigbo. I think he ran very well. Liked the burst, liked the reading of his blocks, the agility that he showed, the burst coming through the line. Yeah.
And Sean, you said that too leading up, before we went on the air. And I thought the observation was very interesting because everybody saw that Abram Smith ran well, but unfortunately put the ball on the ground. We saw Mr. August, as Alan calls him, Tony Jones. Tony had another good outing, but you need to watch Tony Jones closer. And this is one of the reasons why Alan makes that comment tongue in cheek. Tony Jones, if he runs decisively, he can pick up yardage behind the Saints offensive line. But Tony Jones, and I said this back when I did the post-draft evaluation of him last year, he doesn't have good vision. He's not going to see a cutback lane. He's not going to give you a whole lot of elusiveness, and he isn't a particularly accomplished receiver out of the backfield. Tony Jones is a guy you give the ball to and you say, run straight ahead. Mm-hmm. Don't try to get cute. Give what the blocker, take what the blockers give you. Ozigbo is a different kind of cat. Ozigbo can be a receiver out of the backfield. I love his elusiveness when he is running well. I thought Ozigbo should have made the team 2 or 3 years ago when he was in camp. He didn't have the stat line that Smith and Tony Jones did the other day, but I still think Ozigbo is very much in the mix for that number 3 running back spot.
And that is important to keep in mind. There are going to be 4 running backs on this team. It's Kamara, Ingram, whoever's that number 3 guy, and Dwayne Washington. Dwayne Washington's a special teams guy. And
right.
What you saw last night or Saturday night with Dwayne Washington is what you're going to get. He is a guy that can play running back for you, but this is his ceiling. He's not going to get any better than what you're seeing right now. He's a guy that can come in a 4th quarter blowout game and run the ball. He's not going to put the ball on the ground. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's going to do what he needs to do. But, a guy.
Is that an instant message from John Butler?
No, yeah, I wish. No, it's not. It's the same guy who called me twice. Somebody must have lost a dog. I'll call him back. But yeah, he is a guy that is not going to. He probably can't come to work tomorrow. That's probably why he keeps calling me. And my phone, of course, will not respond to without looking at my face. Oh, that's okay. All right. Yeah, he wants me to call in. All right. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting battle to see. I think Abram Smith has to show he can't put the ball on the ground. I think he's going to get more opportunities to run the football.
Yep.
Uh, I think Ezigbo has to show he can put together multiple runs. One of the things that bugged me about all the running backs I saw Saturday night was there was too much dancing in the background, meaning
Yep.
I was watching too many of them start, jitterbugging back there with their feet going all over the place rather than hit the hole and go. Wait, make your pitter patters and moves once you get past the line of scrimmage. The third and short play that we didn't get convert. Adam Prentice did that. The fullback.
Yeah.
Why are you dancing? Run. Put your, I hate to say it, but this is what Larry's uncle used to say. He says, "Put your nose up my butt, and we're gonna go. When I'm running all over the end zone, you follow me." And that was the thing. And I just didn't think that the running backs did that enough yet Saturday night. So we'll see against the Packers. I think you can run easily or easier against the Packers than you could against the Texans. So we'll see how this goes. We'll probably see a lot of running plays again. Sean, tight ends. Did you even pay attention to the tight end position at all?
Not a bit.
They hardly threw. I mean,
did we even play any tight ends?
Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah. But Ian Book, when he came in, of course, he tried to throw Juwan Johnson. He overthrew him. That was one of his interceptions. It's hard to grade these guys because, quite frankly, I didn't see, Ian Book was so bad, so inaccurate that these guys really had a hard time showing they could do anything. I mean,
he looked completely overwhelmed when he came on the field.
Which is disappointing because he is a second-year player. This is not a rookie trying to understand
that's the thing that my thought process in the moment. That's what I thought. He has made absolutely no progression from last year.
No. And folks, there's a reason why we waited so long to talk about Ian Book. We're not going to debate a third-string quarterback. A third-string quarterback at best.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you said, Sean. He looked completely overwhelmed. And Alan, you're right. I'm disappointed in the development. But I gave him a pass last year because the worst thing that could have happened to Ian Book as a rookie was a quarterback competition. Even though it was just in verbiage between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, because that took all possible meaningful reps away from Ian Book. That was a redshirt NFL season for him because you can't throw darts at him for that Miami debacle during the regular season either. Yeah. But coming into this year, you did realistically expect better development out of Ian Book so far. And he's had a couple decent practices, but once you got him in a game situation, he looked lost. He looked intimidated. And the same thing happened today against Green Bay in that inter-squad scrimmage. And Dalton didn't play well either. It's on Book's shoulders. And this is why I don't think the Saints will carry 3 active quarterbacks into the regular season. Book needs to play well to make those coaches change their mind. I think he's still a strong practice squad candidate. But to be a practice squad candidate, folks, remember, you got to be cut, cleared waivers, and brought back. If Book plays well enough to change the coaches' minds, that means he's also played well enough to make the coaches realize if we cut him, we're not going to get him back. Ian Book has not played that well up to this point. And Alan, you mentioned just before we came on the air, he really hasn't played well enough, to at least cause you, if you were coaching, to consider bringing him back as a practice squad. So he has a whole heap of work ahead of him to do.
Absolutely. I mean,
and it's not looking real positive either.
Well, I remember last year we were hearing stories that, they kept him on the roster. We had 4 quarterbacks on the roster because they were afraid that Book was going to get scooped up by
Right.
other teams. Other teams were calling, inquiring about him, and everything else. And then you see this kid out there, and I think that's the best way to put it. He looked intimidated. He looked lost. He took dumb sacks. You're outside the pocket, throw the ball away. That's quarterbacking 101, the NFL level. And he didn't do it. He just held onto the ball and took a sack. He looked like somebody who was not prepared to go out there and play. And I don't know what it is. And I was disappointed in seeing that because I thought he was better than that. I never thought he would be a starter. Even when they drafted him, I didn't think he'd be a starter, but I thought he could be a capable backup who could be on your team for a long time. Kind of a Chase Daniels, but a Chase Daniel, I'm trying to think of somebody else who's bounced around the league a lot. Ryan Griffin, someone like that the Saints have had in the past, who is just a guy that you have in there. He runs a scout team. He's a good teammate. He's a good voice in the quarterback room. He's never going to play. He's never going to be a starter, but he is a backup player. So you always have somebody who can come in and do something and not torpedo your entire season. I don't see that out of him this year. I really don't. That said, if I am Dennis Allen, first off, Jameis Winston ain't playing a single down in the preseason. I watch him in practice. He's not going to play a single down in preseason. Let him get him ready for Atlanta. Number two, you know what you got with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is going to be a veteran guy who is that guy who can come in, start for a few games if your starter goes down, and can win. You don't have to change your whole offense. So I am putting Book out there, as miserable as that's going to be for Saints fans to watch. I am putting Book out there for almost the entire games against and the Chargers, and you're going to play, and we're going to totally evaluate you. You have 3 opportunities to impress us, as well as the practices, and get all the film I can get on him, because other than that, that could be the last time you see him as a Saints quarterback. Isn't that game?
Well, and especially because you're not going to run Alvin Kamara out there.
No.
Like you guys said before, you want Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and probably Jarvis Landry wrapped in bubble wrap. So you're not worried about missing any opportunities for Jameis Winston to work up chemistry with these guys, because they'll be doing that in practice. There's no reason to risk them in a meaningless game situation. So you do want, if you're looking at Book precisely the way that you looked at him the day they drafted him, as a potential long-term backup, this is his chance to prove it. And I agree with you, Sean. The results have been discouraging, to say the least. He has time to turn it around, but that clock is ticking faster and faster.
Yes, it is.
So they play the Packers Friday night. What are some things we should look for, Sean, in this game?
I want to see, first and foremost, I want to see Trevor Penning do his 180. I want him to be the player that we all expected him to be. I want to see more of Smith and Adebo and see if they can produce consistently now. And I really would. I would love to see Book do the same. Do an about face and show why these people had the faith in him that they did. Give us a reason to keep you.
Yeah. Is anybody else you're looking to see on offense or defense to see if there's anything that they could show you that you haven't seen yet?
Olave.
Yeah, I think you have to wait for the Atlanta game for that one. Bob, how about you?
First and foremost, I need a better performance from the backup offensive line in general. The yeah, listen, I needed. All right, I expected some growing pains from Trevor Penning. We're going to continue to get that, but yeah, a lot of us were worried about the depth of the Saints' offensive line coming into the regular season, and these guys so far, against Green Bay today, they struggled worse than they did against the Texans. They have done nothing to make us quell those worries. So I need a better performance from those guys. I echo what Sean says. I'm still waiting for one of those group of running backs to start to separate themselves a little bit. I still give the lead to Abram Smith ever so slightly, but somebody needs to step up. And I'm looking at that wide receiver competition. Dejon Dixon has played good ball. Kirk Merritt has been a star in training camp. If those guys can continue, they're going to make roster decisions very, very difficult for Dennis Allen. And that's all you can ask if you're an undrafted rookie is make cutting me one of the most difficult decisions of your life. So that's what I'm looking for offensively. Defensively, I want to see continued improvement from Eric Wilson. I want to see how John Bostic fits in this defense, and I want to keep seeing if Justin Evans is a fit for that secondary. That's what I'm going to be watching on the defensive end. The defensive linemen, we know what the starting group can give. I'm hoping one of those backups can step up, a Jordan Jackson, one of those developmental guys to strengthen the depth there. But I'm mainly going to be looking at the backcourt, the linebackers, and the second team defensive backs.
Yeah, one of the things we never even talked about, and because it's verboten, but listen, here's another reason why Ian Book probably doesn't make this team. You've got your two quarterbacks, and you have Taysom Hill who can play the third quarterback, the emergency quarterback, if you had him. I know Taysom Hill is going to be. He's listed as a tight end, but as I tell people all the time, he's going back to doing what he did with Sean Payton. He's going to play receiver. He's going to play tight end. He's going to run the ball. He's going to come in on short yardage on third down and replace Jameis Winston, run the read option passes, plays. He will throw the ball occasionally. I know people cringe at that idea, but he's got to throw the ball because otherwise they'll just put 8 and 9 guys in the box when he comes in. So he is going to put the ball in the air. He's going to be the gunner. He's going to be the up back. He'll be even a kick returner occasionally. So you're going to see him all over the place. Yeah, I'm confident he'll clear waivers too, John. People, the bloom's off the rose for him. But, so Dennis Allen knows he's got that in his back pocket. So there's no need to really worry about having to keep him. And, KJ Costello, he's a camp arm, you may see him play. He may play the second half of the third preseason game. I'd be surprised if he does, but he could. It's conceivable.
Listen, I hope he does. Leading up to that, to that draft last year, I was calling for. I like KJ Costello. I was calling for the Saints to spend a 6th or 7th round pick on him. And I would have rather see that than them spend a 4th round pick on Book. And that's not me. That's not me using 2020 hindsight. That's the way I felt at the time. So I hope KJ Costello gets a shot. But I agree with you. Realistically, he's nothing more than a camp arm and an extra arm.
I had to laugh. People were asking, "Who's KJ Costello?" And I said, "Well, Elvis Costello cost too much money, so you had to use this time." And of course, I had to put a picture of him because I know I could just see anybody under the age of 20 going, "Who's Elvis Costello?"
Yeah, right.
Isn't this supposed to be Elvis Presley? No. Okay, so and I agree with both of y'all with the things I'm looking for. The other stuff I'm looking for in this game coming up is I want to see continuing improvement by the offensive line, especially I want to see Landon Young and Trevor Penning supposed to have. We didn't even talk about Landon Young, but Landon Young really struggled. Once the backup lineman came in and he was more exposed than he was when he had Cesar Ruiz, who is actually had a pretty good camp so far,
Yes.
and McCoy and Pete weren't in there, when he was exposed a little more, he struggled a bit. I want to see if Penning takes that step forward. I want to see the wide receiver battle continue. I want to see these tight ends. I want to see Crow. I want to see these tight ends come in and play, and I don't know with Book, can they do that? But some of them needs to show up as a pass catching tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I know with Trotman, you've got a run blocker. I know Johnson, you've got a guy who can catch passes and run routes as a receiver, but I need to see more out of these tight ends because I don't feel good about the position at all.
No.
I really don't. And I don't want to find out come Atlanta, when we try and throw them a ball, that all of them have hands made of stone, or they can't do anything outside of being wide freaking open on in the end zone. I need to see some kind of development out of these guys. So how do you think this game's going to play out? First of all, I don't think Aaron Rodgers plays either. I think you're going to see a lot of Jordan Love. But how do you think this game's going to play out on Saturday or Friday?
Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing hallucinogenics.
He looks like Nicolas Cage, and I forgot what
he does.
Looks like Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. Hey, that's going to be your quarterback next year. Don't be knocking him.
I'm looking to see which offense steps up because both these defenses are darn good and darn deep. So you're going to see very good defensive players onto the field well into the fourth quarter. So which offense is going to be able to step up with a backup quarterback? Green Bay has an underrated receiving core, despite what the delusional Aaron Rodgers thinks. So that could it's not spectacular, but it's serviceable, and it has. I'll rephrase. Green Bay's starting wide receivers aren't going to scare anybody, but they have some decent depth. So that depth is something that could test the second string Saints secondary in the second half. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. The Green Bay is also very deep at running back. So will the Saints run defense continue to struggle? It's not like they struggle mightily. It was just a handful of plays that they broke down against Houston. They're going to have to shore that up against Green Bay, and they'll be tested to do it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on Friday night.
A.J. Dillon's a hell of a back. I really like A.J. Dillon.
Yes.
Aaron Jones is good too, but A.J. Dillon's the kind of guy I'd love to have on the Saints team. As your short yardage, third down, third and short and closer, that hammer. I kept screaming the whole time I'm watching Green Bay play Tampa Bay when Tampa went to the Super Bowl. I'm like, run A.J. Dillon. Run him at that team because, they like tackling right now, but come the third and fourth quarter, they ain't going to want to take him on anymore. I promise you, Levante David and the little Mr. Cheap Shot artist don't want to get hit. They do not want to get hit, especially if a linebacker from LSU. They never like getting hit. No, I really wanted. I was so mad that Green Bay was not putting him in the game to hit the Bucs, and we'll see Wednesday, Friday night that he is a hell of a running back. He really is. So, okay, guys. Barring anybody, Sean's migraines, Bob getting ill, other unanticipated birthday parties, we'll be back again next Tuesday night to talk about the Saints-Packers game. Bob, you got the Bayou Blitz tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. We don't have any guests lined up. It's just going to be Brendan Boylan and I breaking down. I've been, with anniversaries and vacations and moving kids into apartments.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to line up my guests yet. Through the rest of the preseason. So you guys are going to be stuck with the pretty mugs of Mr. Brendan Boylan and myself tomorrow night.
Well, I know. I encourage everybody to check out that show as well. Great podcast. And as always, we're glad to have you on ours too, Bob. So, in the meantime, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.